And welcome to day 3 of the 2025 National Invasive Species Awareness Week. Our theme for this year's NISAW is Enhancing North American Biosecurity to Protect Against Invasive Species. My name is Christy Trifone-Millhouse, the Executive Director here at the North American Invasive Species Management Association, also known as NISMA. Now, before we get started today, a few housekeeping notes. We're excited to see so many of you joining us. I know there'll be several more popping in here. As I mentioned, share with us in the chat where you're joining us from. Also, after our presentation today, please feel free to use the reaction button to let our presenter know that you enjoyed today's topic. We'll be hosting a brief Q&A after the webinar. So pop those questions into the Q&A box. If you put them in the chat, we will not be able to see them. Okay, NISAW is an international event powered by NISMA to raise awareness about invasive species, the threat they pose, and what can be done to prevent their spread. NISAW provides a platform for individuals from local, state, federal, tribal agencies, regional organizations, private industry, and citizens to discuss legislation, policies, resources, and improvements that can be made with elected officials and decision makers. This is a week not only for learning, but for action. Throughout the week, we'll be sharing links with you in an effort to connect you with your U.S. senators and House representative. We want them to hear our collective voices and to learn about the importance of this work and why we need to support and fund these efforts. For those who want to take more of an active role this week, please head to NISMA.org and find the NISAW toolkit filled with template social posts, press releases, PSAs, and more. If you're not currently connected to us on social media, please join us and share our posts daily. So we've got quite a week planned for NISAW with presentations focusing on our theme of enhancing biosecurity at all levels. Our presentations yesterday from our partners at USGS and the Department of Homeland Security focused on current research efforts and security measures being taken at the national level. If you were unable to attend live, we'll be posting these presentations to our YouTube channel after the events this week. And I encourage you to visit our website to register for these webinars. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that our agenda has changed quite a bit over the last month, even up till this week. Things are still changing. But I'd like to take a moment to thank those federal employees who've invested their energy and heart into this work. Some are no longer leading those efforts at the national level, while others are still holding strong. NISAW is driven by education and action. I encourage you to activate your networks behind our calls to action and to provide support to programs that need a bit of glue right now in any way that you can. Through partnership and collaboration, we are stronger. And this is truly the essence of our work here at NISMA. As leaders of NISAW, NISMA is deeply vested in our mission to empower the management of invasive species across North America. We are led by an 18-member board of leading experts and professionals with supporting committees that I ask you to consider joining. Lots of volunteer opportunities here at NISMA. We're led also by a strong NISMA team and a membership that continues to grow in numbers by the day. NISAW continues to be one of our most far-reaching events, with over 2.9 million people participating in last year's event. Here at NISMA, we provide the connections, the tools, and the voice you need to address invasive species. We frame our programs around these core pillars. We work hard to provide opportunities for collaboration and connection through our webinars, summits, and annual conference. We equip our members and those in the invasive species community with the tools needed to manage and educate the public about invasive species. And finally, we strive to provide a collective voice on a national platform to advocate for relevance and support through our government relations programming and events like NISAW. Some of our upcoming events you won't want to miss include the 2025 National Forum on Biological Control in Annapolis, Maryland from April 14th through the 17th. The meeting themes revolve around biocontrol research, management, and impacts in natural areas. We have some great speakers lined up, so I encourage you to register today if you're interested in networking in person with members from the biocontrol community. Another event you surely will not want to miss is the 2025 NISMA Annual Conference. Mark your calendar and plan to join us in Lake Tahoe from November 3rd through the 6th. Our theme this year is charting a new course. We've got some great speakers lined up and hope to see you all there. Head to NISMA.org to register today. As a friendly reminder, your membership dues help to make our mission come to life. If you are not currently a member of NISMA, we offer a variety of different membership options. You can view our new membership structure on our website, nisma.org. And for those that are interested in sponsoring NISMA in a bigger way, our new Premier Partner program is designed for you. Premier Partners enjoy benefits throughout the year, including acknowledgement on our website, at big events, and more. And I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge and thank all of our current 2025 Premier Partners whose generosity has made NISAW and other NISMA events this year possible. All right, now it's time for the main event. I'd like to introduce NISMA's Education and Prevention Manager, Tegan Wilma, who will be moderating our webinar today. Tegan?
Thank you, Christy. And thank you all of you for joining us today. I am Tegan Wilmot. I am the Education and Prevention Manager at NISMA. To get us started, I would like to introduce you to Dr. Elliott Parsons. Sorry, let's go back. A specialist with the Pacific Regional Invasive Species and Climate Change Management Network through the Pacific Islands Climate Adaptation Science Center at the University of Hawaii at Mānoa, and one of our board members. He will be presenting on building Pacific Island resilience to climate change and invasive species with Pacific risk. And again, for everyone watching, please be sure to put any comments or questions in the Q&A box and not in the chat box, so we can be sure to answer everyone's question after all the presentations. Elliott, I'll have you share your slides now.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'd like to just start off by thanking NISMA for the opportunity to speak this year at the National Invasive Species Awareness Week. Thank Tegan, Christy, Mara, Jody, and all of the staff for putting this on, and all of the partners, colleagues, and then viewers who have made this possible. I have been participating throughout the week and just found it incredible how many different talks brought up the Pacific region and all the invasive species challenges faced here. So thank you so much for all the speakers who've come before, and after looking over the list of who's here, thanks as well to all of the folks attending today. All right, let's see if my slide advancing works. So I first wanted to start just by letting you know a little bit more about my background. I've been working in conservation and management in Hawaii for about 15 years now. And I started back in about 2010 working in North Kona, helping the state of Hawaii DLNR manage a large 40,000 acre state forest reserve named Pu'uwa'awa'a, which you can see here in the foreground. Mauna Kea is the really tall snow-capped mountain in the background. And this is the location of the area where I was a manager for about 12 years. It was about 40,000 acres with another state parcel next door, making it about 104,000 acres of public land that a team of us was helping to steward and manage and protect the important cultural and natural resources. And on this map, you can see the names of the different Hawaiian volcanoes. So we were closest to Walalai on the leeward side or the dry side of Hawaiʻi Island. And this area was incredibly botanically diverse. It was called the most botanically rich area in all of Hawaii by early botanist Joseph Rock, and just has an incredible number of rare and endemic Hawaiian plant species. We worked at this particular area with 18 endangered plant taxa, and a lot of our efforts were around how to try to protect those species from invasives, as well as restore native ecosystems and watersheds in the region. And this isn't me, but this was very similar to my introduction, trying to remove invasive species, invasive plants. This is fountain grass in one of our fenced exclosures where hoofed non-native mammals were removed, and that's often the first step in restoration, is trying to fence out the area from feral goats and pigs and sheep. But then the next big step is removing invasive plants. Before I learned about the use of herbicide, we tried to do it with Pulaski's, which was very challenging. And so when I talk about invasive species, of course, you've got to have a definition, and I'm going to go with the definition from the most recent U.S. executive order: a non-native organism whose introduction causes or is likely to cause economic or environmental harm or harm to human, animal, or plant health. And we were witness to many different invasive species impacts over the 12 years that I was there. It was pretty much, aside from, of course, doing paperwork and procurement, it was our biggest task was trying to reduce the impacts of invasive species. This is an endangered halopepe tree that was infested by a common agricultural pest, the banana moth, and a number of us worked on trying to figure out how to protect this species. And unfortunately, we lost about half of the wild individuals of this already critically endangered plant due to the banana moth. We also saw a lot of impacts from non-native hoofed mammals or ungulates. This is bark stripping of the native willy willy tree from feral goats. And this species was already impacted by a galling insect and having a lot of trouble with reproduction. You can also see it surrounded by invasive grasses. So a lot of these invasive species are just hammering these native species from multiple angles. We also saw, and I worked with colleagues, Layla Kaufman, who spoke earlier this week, on Myoporum thrips, and it was just devastating to see the loss of large areas of Myoporum forest in different places on Hawaiʻi Island over a number of years after this species was discovered on Hawaiʻi Island, the Myoporum thrips. And I'll just put out one other before diving into more about what we do. This one's really interesting, the two-line spittlebug, and I just show it to illustrate the layers of complexity regarding invasive species and invasions in Hawaii. On the left, you can see this pasture. Pasture is non-native kikuyu grass, which is an aggressive invader, but also nutritious forage for livestock. And it's suppressing all of these weeds. And so when the two-line spittlebug came in, which started killing the non-native grass, we saw this huge eruption of all of these other non-native weeds, some noxious that came back afterwards. So maybe invasional meltdown, but many layers of invasional meltdown because of how long invasive species have been in Hawaii and how many different species there are. But I want to finish on a positive note at the end, so please don't get too discouraged and wait for the end. So this is my outline. I want to talk about island vulnerability to invasives, the need for biosecurity, climate change, how climate change exacerbates invasive species issues in the Pacific, and then opportunities for what we can do about it and what everybody can do about this phenomenon. So starting off with islands are vulnerable to invasive species. We know from recent work and many different studies over the decades that islands are critical for Earth's biodiversity. And so if we want to protect Earth's biodiversity, we have to protect islands. Islands make up a very small percentage of land area, but they harbor about 20% of the biodiversity of Earth. So they're very important to protect. And we know that invasive species are driving the conservation crisis in the Pacific region. We have many different kinds of invaders. Many of these species have been brought up this week, such as rats, little fire ant. I heard cane toad mentioned, brown tree snakes. We have invasive species across many different ecosystem types with many different impacts. And the result on biodiversity is pretty devastating. Though Hawaii makes up less than 1% of the US land area, it contains more than 40% of all federally listed threatened and endangered species. And I want to note as well that many common species such as the NISAW and others have been found to be in decline. And so not all of the species that are in trouble are on that endangered species list. And in fact, just to highlight that, we have special programs for species that are not just endangered, but critically endangered. This is an example with the Plant Extinction Prevention Program. Many folks in Hawaii are doing an incredible job of trying to protect these plants, which have fewer than 50 wild individuals remaining. And of course, there's also the Snail Extinction Prevention Program as well. So what is at risk? What values are at risk and at stake? So many different values, not just biological diversity, but biodiversity is intricately intertwined with culture, so culture is at stake as well. Invasive species threaten cultural practices, cultural traditions, food security through impacts to agriculture, sustainable food practices, and even on the lower right, the ability of our shorelines to stay intact in a changing climate is threatened by invasive species as well. And this has been called out in national and international reports. The IPBES was brought up on day one of NISAW. This was, of course, the first comprehensive global report on invasive species in 2023. Found that invasive species have played a role in 60% of global extinctions and are the sole driver of 16% of recorded extinctions. But on islands, it's even more dramatic. So on islands, invasive species are responsible for almost 90% of recorded extinctions. The brown tree snake was mentioned, so I'm not going to talk more about how almost all of the birds on Guam went extinct after its introduction. Instead, I'll bring up the case of Hawaii's native forest birds, which are threatened by invasive mosquitoes, which harbor avian malaria and avian pox. These mosquitoes are being found at higher and higher elevations due to warming, with at least 4, but probably more native Hawaiian forest birds threatened by extinction. These 4 in particular may go extinct in the wild in the next 10 years. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit more about the need for biosecurity. So I've talked about how many invasives there are. To put some numbers to it, this is a USGS report from 2018. The boxes represent 10,000 square kilometers. The dots are the number of non-native species. And as you can see, the richness is much, much higher in Hawaii, as well as other Pacific islands. This work found that the density is about 260 times higher. So do we have all invasive species here already? No, we do not. Invasions are continuing to increase and increasing at a faster rate over time. This is work by Kelsey Brock and Kurt Daler. This is naturalized plant species. And you can see over about the last 120 years, there's been a continual increase in the number of naturalized plants showing up in Hawaii. And it even looks like the rate has increased since 1980. Right now, and this might be higher with new work coming out, but average rate has been about 12 new naturalized plant species being found per year. And these species have really large impacts. And I saw a different version of this slide shared yesterday in a NISAW talk. But biological invasions, and this is work by the INVICOS database shared through Turbulent et al. 2023. And we looked into damage costs for Hawaii and the U.S. affiliated Pacific Islands, or US API. And this work shows that biological invasions are actually the most costly in terms of damages over the last few decades compared to all other natural hazards combined. And those are increasing through time. And so what do we have at our disposal? This Hawaii Interagency Biosecurity Plan was shared earlier. I want to make a point too, so you can see it points out biosecurity as the set of measures taken to manage the risk from invasive species to the economy, environment, and health and lifestyle of the people. And I just want to highlight the lifestyle part of this. Often with invasive species, we talk about wanting to protect the economy, the environment, human health. But we also don't want to be miserable, right? Like we want to have a good quality of life. We don't want to be stuck inside of our houses because we're too afraid to go outside due to little fire ants falling on top of our heads and stinging us, or invasive seeds blowing in the air, causing respiratory illness. Like the quality of life is really important for everybody as well. And I think it's really important that this plan calls that out. Okay, so primary introductions are something we've got to worry about. D. Lawrence talked about these earlier this week. According to some very good social media sites out there, the Sasquatch has been seen in all the states except for Hawaii. So I think we still have maybe a good chance of keeping out the species with good biosecurity. I just want to highlight some that have been found recently, such as opossums. This individual was found on a window ledge in downtown Honolulu in July last year. And then, oh my gosh, another one found in August of 2024 inside of a shipping container. So of course, I'm positive that folks, officials must have got together to put a stop to this and prevent others from coming in, and that we probably didn't have this problem after that. Okay, wait, no, sorry, I'm hearing that another opossum was found on Oahu in December of 2024. They're coming. They're still coming here. This is the opossum apocalypse is upon us. But certainly with all of these findings, we're taking steps to prevent them from coming in. Another one in January, caught in a Kona big box store. Yeah, this is pretty unbelievable how many possums we're getting. But first of all, I just want to point out, I love this expression on this news anchor's face. Priceless. I'm sure he's just so shocked about how many opossums we've been finding. And so I turn to our AI overlords to ask them the very important question of what does this opossum apocalypse look like for Hawaii? We have to know what this looks like so that we can prepare and do something about it. And it's pretty bleak, unfortunately. I think there's a lot that we need to do to prepare ourselves for this incoming opossum invasion. Okay, so secondary spread. Secondary spread is also important, as was mentioned earlier this week. And there are a number of examples. Little fire ant has been brought up. The stings can cause painful rashes. They can make it impossible to do agriculture. They kill seabirds. And they can be spread around in storms, especially as people pile up and move around green waste and trash. And this species is moving around. You can fit an entire colony in one macadamia nut shell. So you imagine a truck parks in under a tree, infested seed falls in, that truck drives across the island, it's just spread little fire ants somewhere else. And so we've seen this pattern before. This is spread of LFA from a presentation of a colleague. You can see in 1999, detections on Hawaiʻi Island and Kauai. and then spreading to other islands afterwards. CRB, coconut rhinoceros beetle, is another one. This is a really impactful species, and it is devastating for coconut palms as well as endangered cycads on Guam, native Hawaiian, Lolu. It spreads in green waste, and it's been moving around recently as well. This is a picture taken and on a news site showing CRB larvae inside compost bags. And what's likely going on is CRB on Oahu, where the species was detected. It's been there over 10 years now, are potentially ovipositing in bags, which are being shipped around and spreading this around to other places. That's one hypothesis of what's going on. But I also want to highlight another presentation of a colleague who looked at all the different commodities that CRB has been found in Australia. And look at the list: plastic bibs. How are CRB being transported in plastic bibs? I don't understand it. That's a crazy one. I had to look up what bêche de mer was. Apparently it's the cooked body wall of a sea cucumber, which is a luxury seafood delicacy. So looking at a map, you can see the spread here of CRB, or the secondary spread within the archipelago. And this is on Oahu first in 2013, and then spreading to other islands in 2023. They will also mention as well, incursions were found in the Republic of the Marshall Islands as well recently. And so can we quantify this? This is again work by Kelsey Brock, looking at the average rate of inter-island spread, and it's increased since about 1960. And so we know that once, at least in terms of naturalized plants, when they get here, they spread to about 3 per decade. And so the big picture, 3 other islands per decade. So the big picture here is that we really need to keep them out of the archipelago, because once they get here, there's high likelihood of inter-island spread. And so what is needed? We need to identify which pathways are the most important and how to mitigate spread of invasive species. Okay, moving on. Climate change needs to be considered. So we know that there's many different kinds of climate impacts. Many of those impacts have been occurring for decades. So this is something that's been happening in the Pacific for many, many years now. In particular, severity and frequency of both drought and wildfire has been increasing in Hawaii due to a number of factors. Changes in rainfall as well are projected for the future. We have projections for increased storm intensity. So we have many climate impacts that have been occurring and many that are projected to occur in the future that could affect invasions. I want to highlight this recent white paper, the Invasive Species Advisory Committee. You can download it from the QR code. It's really, really good and highlights this issue. And it breaks down 4 different ways that climate change interacts with invasive species. And I'm going to go into a couple of those. But first of all, I wanted to mention the group that I work for, Pacific Regional Invasive Species and Climate Change Management Network, or Pacific RISC. It was formed in 2019 and 2020 to bridge 2 historically separate disciplines of invasive species management and climate change. We also focus attention on research needs and findings and try to translate research and share that to the community of folks doing the work. This is our area. It's a very large area, encompasses over 2,000 islands, over 20 languages spoken, and includes both independent nations, the state of Hawaii, and U.S. territories in the Pacific. And we're part of a larger network. So you can check out our website, www.riscnetwork.org, to learn about the risk region in your area and how to learn about all the amazing work being done. We did a survey in 2021 and found that managers in Hawaii are concerned about the effects of climate change on invasive species, but are not satisfied with existing products and tools. That really laid the groundwork for the need for Pacific RISC. And so we offer a number of different things. We have a monthly webinar series. We try to promote knowledge exchange through meetings and workshops, syntheses and publications. So please join us if you're interested. Okay, we're getting through this. How climate change exacerbates invasive species issues in the Pacific. I want to call attention to the 5th National Climate Assessment, and we did a research summary, which you can get at that QR code. But one of the big picture key messages was that interactions between invasive species and climate change in the Pacific Islands are complex, with climate change most often exacerbating invasion. So I want to talk about some of the ways that is happening or is likely to happen. And so I'm going to use the ISAC white paper to do that. So the first one is the effects of invasive species are often worsened by climate change. One of the important intersections is severe tropical storms called hurricanes, typhoons, or cyclones, depending where you are in the world. We know from a lot of work that tropical cyclone intensity is expected to increase in the region. And there's a lot of concern about impacts to invasive species. And those concerns are well founded. We know from experience from many severe tropical storms that invasive species that fall or are uprooted during storms can damage property and infrastructure. Species like Myconia, which has been called the green cancer of the Pacific, has really shallow roots and can cause landslides after it establishes after heavy downpours. And then ungulate fencing. I want to call it ungulate fencing because it is such a critical part of restoration and conservation in Hawaii. These severe storms can greatly impact our ability to protect species from non-native hoofed mammals. And I want to share this video that I got from Franny Brewer from the Big Island Invasive Species Committee. It just shows the widespread devastation of albizia, which is an invasive tree that grows really fast and is brittle. So this is after 2014, after Hurricane Iselle hit the Hawaiʻi Island. This is on the windward or Hilo side of the Big Island, and you can just see this massive tree fall everywhere. These trees coming down on roads, on houses, on infrastructure, and it took many months and in fact years to recover from this, and I think was a really big wake-up call to the fact that we really can't ignore invasive species in light of these really severe storms. Wildfire, of course, is another big issue. Wildfire in the Pacific region is spread by invasive and non-native grasses and shrubs, which many folks have pointed out are real critical concern for health and human safety, as well as losing native ecosystems. And these fires, which are growing in size due to multiple factors in Hawaii, they cause many different impacts. This particular one that happened a few years ago on Hawaiʻi Island burned almost 2% of the island, and the air quality was terrible for many, many weeks afterwards. As well, I'm sure everyone has heard about the devastating fires in Maui and in Kula and Lahaina in 2023. This is a screenshot I took on Google Street View of the nearby area where the fire started. You can just see all of the bone dry invasive grasses and shrubs everywhere. And we wrote an article about the intersection of wildfire and a changing climate in the Pacific that you can access here. We wrote that for NISAW a little while ago to call attention to that issue. But I also want to mention as well, before I move on to the next thing, that vegetation management is just so critical, and point out that for some invasive species, you can reduce the risk of impacts through active management. We did that for many years at Pu'uwa'awa'a through the use of strategic grazing by livestock to try to reduce the biomass and fine fuels of some of these invasive grasses. Okay, so the next part I want to talk about these two quickly. Climate change facilitates the spread and establishment of invasive species, and climate change makes ecosystems more susceptible to invasion. So this article came out not too long ago, asking the question, will extreme climatic events facilitate biological invasions? Here is my research summary for that article. Yes, there is a lot of concern and a lot of growing evidence that these extreme climatic events are terrible for biological invasions. We worked to put together a couple-hour workshop, a number of folks on this call at the Hawaii Conservation Conference last year, and we brainstormed different examples of tropical storms facilitating the spread of invasive species in the Pacific region. And without really looking too hard, we came up with 22 different examples going all the way back to 1992. And we shared those at the event we put on. And yes, severe storms are moving invasive species around, and it's not just due to the storm itself. It's also due to the human response to the storm. And you can see on here some of the different storms we highlighted in that event, and some of the invasive species of concern. One of the underappreciated mechanisms of spread is actually emergency response and relief. And rightly so, emergency response efforts are focusing their attention on saving lives and infrastructure and property, as they should. But this is definitely a gap. It's been pointed out in the recent NISC white paper on disaster invasive species that everybody should check out. Here is one example that NISC white paper cites from a 2020 paper in Biological Invasions. And this was a study that showed that two species were introduced to Dominica after Hurricane Maria on emergency relief efforts, the green iguana and the Cuban tree frog, with another new species below, the Venezuela snouted tree frog, spotted as well. So this is something we really need to pay more attention to. Typhoon Mawar was another tropical storm that we talked about, in particular in regards to Guam. It was a Category 5 storm that hit with top wind speeds of 185 miles an hour. And it was a really impactful storm. And one of the impacts was to the risk of spread of brown tree snake, which we talked about earlier and has been talked about throughout the week. And essentially what happened was a storm parked on the runway in a place it didn't typically park. And because of the storm, brown tree snake's traps are taken down, and a snake got into the wheel well of the plane. And despite pretty extensive checks, it was missed. It ended up flying to Saipan, where it was missed there as well, and then back where it was discovered. So it was a near miss because it wasn't introduced to a non-brown tree snake island. But it illustrated that growing risk and how we need to pay attention to these storms and really galvanize this team to think about the issues and come up with ways that we can further strengthen biosecurity. And so I encourage everybody to check out this article that we wrote about the subject, where we lay out all of the details of this particular incident and all the amazing work that the brown tree snake interdiction team does in terms of keeping these really impactful invasive predators from reaching other islands. And that's really the way biosecurity needs to be done. It's at the source population, and this is such a great example of that. And so then to finish us off on our discussion of the nexus, talking about resilience and how invasive species impact the resilience of communities and ecosystems. This was a letter written recently to the Micronesia, by the Micronesia Islands Forum in 2024, sent to President Joe Biden. And in it, a number of presidents and governors from jurisdictions of the Pacific region called for greater investment into invasive species efforts in the U.S. Pacific, implementation of biosecurity plans, implementation of strategic action plans. And I just wanted to read this quote. The long-lasting and devastating impacts of invasive species reduce climate change resiliency by altering ecosystem structure and function, while also negatively impacting livelihoods, quality of life, food security, and culture. And so really, I think the big point is that invasive species are a huge threat to human security in general, and really need to be, our investments really need to be increased dramatically. And then one more example on the resilience front. And this is, again, returning to the invasive coconut rhinoceros beetle, impacting not only the economies of Pacific Islands with huge impacts to copra production, but also shorelines. And so many low-lying islands, the shorelines are in part held together by coconut trees. So if you lose the coconut trees, you lose some of that really important shoreline stabilization. Coconut trees are called the tree of life in the Pacific because they're so important to food, to nutrition, to drinking water. On the right is a picture a colleague shared me of an actual islander drink station in Pohnpei, Federated States of Micronesia. So this is what you might see at a conference for nutritional drinking water. And so CRB really is a significant impact to Pacific Island resilience. And then, sorry, one more. I forgot I had this last one. Our reefs are severely threatened by both climate change and invasive species. And recent work by the USGS has really kind of like outlined the extent to which we depend on coral reefs to protect communities from damage. This figure was mentioned earlier this week, that reefs reduce about 97% of incoming wave energy, which is just absolutely enormous. And in this one particular talk, the example from Maui is that coral reefs are preventing about 152 million in property damage and economic disruption. And so we really need to do everything we can to prevent the interacting effects of invasive species and climate change from impacting these coral reefs, not just for biodiversity, but because they literally are protecting island communities. Okay, well, I'm just going to finish us off with some opportunities. First of all, increased collaboration is a real incredible opportunity, and it's not a small thing to say this. Some colleagues and I are working on synthesizing the results from a recent workshop at the last NISAW conference, in which we gathered people's thoughts on how we can become more resilient to invasive species in a changing climate. And increased collaboration was one of the top items that was shared in terms of how we can become more adaptable. We need more effective knowledge exchange. This is something that I think the risk groups, as well as extension programs around the country, do really well. And this is the first CRB Science Symposium that a few of us got together and put on to try to share knowledge on research management and communication on coconut rhinoceros beetle around the region. I thought it was really successful and a good model for more of these types of events in the future. Climate smart invasive species management. There's more and more work on what we can actually do, what managers can do. And this is a recent publication. There's also the Northwest Risk did a webinar on it that you can watch. Just go check out their website. But this article, the table 2, has options and opportunities for climate smart invasive species management and implications for where policy and funding could support such opportunities. It's a great list of ideas that we can start working on right now. Proactive biosecurity. This is something I talked about earlier with the brown tree snake interdiction program. We really need to start doing a better job of doing more work at the source of invasive species and preventing those invasions from going to other places. This is a great example of that. And I also wanted to share one more graph from Kelsey Brock's work, and this is a graph breaking up that one line that I showed you on increasing plant naturalizations in Hawaii. This breaks it into accidental and intentional or purposeful introductions. And as you can see, there is a huge number of naturalized plants that are a result of purposeful introductions, and that increase has gone up over time. And so there's a huge area where we can start having immediate benefits because we're letting in a lot of these species that are then spreading and having impacts in the environment. There's opportunities for more effective planning, and I just wanted to highlight some amazing work that was done by colleagues. This in particular was a synthesis project that looked across many different state, federal, and county plans that mentioned development and urbanization. And what Chanel Yi found was that there are many really significant gaps in plans. For example, climate action plans that don't mention invasive species, or highway climate adaptation action plans, sustainability plans that don't mention fire risk reduction, adaptation, or mitigation. So we really need to think about how we can better integrate our planning. We need better detection methods. I'm really excited for Olivia's talk next, where she'll be talking about her work on improving detection methods for invasive species. We need more use of existing tools. I wanted to point out the weed fire risk assessment created by Kevin Facenda, Kurt Daler, and others at the University of Hawaii and Bishop Museum. This is an incredible tool that ranks the risk of promoting wildfire across a whole number of different invasive plants. These tools exist. They can be used to help prioritize management and eradication. We can also improve existing tools. This is two amazing tools that have been highlighted this week and in many previous webinars and meetings. Hawaii and the U.S. affiliated Pacific Islands are not typically included in many different tools. We would love to be included, and so we can use existing tools and we can improve those. And then I think this is my final opportunity: increase restoration opportunities. And this is my ultimate, trying to look at the glass half full. This is a paper from Bethany Bradley and others looking at potential range shifts in invasive plants in the continental United States, and they found that there could be opportunities for restoration, for reforestation on lands where these species are shifting out of. We really need to be prepared. This is the Decade on Ecosystem, the UN Decade on Ecosystem Restoration. We're almost halfway through. We have a lot of work to do still on improving and scaling up our ecosystem restoration. I know it's possible on a smaller scale through our work in Hawaii with many different partners. This is just one project where we took an area that was pretty much 100% invasive grasses, shrubs, and trees, and just a few years later, it was a thriving dry forest community, which is just incredible to see that it can happen in that short amount of time. And so this is the final kind of like call to action I have, but we really need disturbance-ready restoration practices because of these increasingly severe extreme climatic events and disturbances. We need something like post-disturbance rapid restoration, or PDRR. I've been trying to coin this as a new term to add to EDRR as a technique, and University of Hawaii has some great examples of just record-setting tree plantings that have happened that we really need to replicate and scale up. And if we work on that, then we will see recovering forests and recovering ecosystems, healthy forests, and healthy people and communities. And this area in particular in front that I'm showing right now is just transformed dramatically over just a couple decades. It's going to take all of us working together on these issues. We need to stay strong. And I really appreciate the opportunity to share all the good work that folks in our region are doing. As well, I'd like to to thank the agencies that fund and host my position as well. And with that, please join our community practice, join the other risk groups in your region. or if you're in Canada, join the NISC, but please join us and let's work together for charting a course for a better future. Mahalo nui loa. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elliott. You're getting some great reaction there from the audience. And again, just a reminder to everyone, if you do have questions for Elliott, please put them in the Q&A box and we'll hopefully get time to answer those at the end. And now I would like to introduce our next speaker. We have Olivia Jarvis with us. She is a graduate student at the University of Hawaii at Hilo, pursuing her Master's of Science degree in Tropical Biology and Environmental Science. Olivia, I'll let you share your slides now.
Sweet, thank you, Tegan. All right, aloha everyone. Thank you, NISAW, for having us, and thank you, Elliott, for asking me to present with you today. Like Tegan said, I'm a master's student at Hilo, and today I'm going to share some of my thesis work, detecting strawberry guava trees and monitoring biocontrol spread through remotely sensed data. And just to orient everyone where in the world we are and where this work takes place, we are currently in Hawaii, and I'm calling in from Hawaiʻi Island, from the Moku or district of Hilo and the Ahupua'a or land division of Waiakea. I'm currently in the Tropical Conservation Biology and Environmental Science program at Hilo, also TCBS. I am a part of the 2022 TCBS cohort and have had the opportunity to learn about this island from Mauka to Makai, or from the mountains to the sea. I'm working on a master's thesis with Dr. Ryan Proy and his research lab, the Spatial Data Analysis and Visualization Lab, whose mission is to apply geospatial tools to environmental problems of local significance. We do a lot of work mapping our shorelines and our forests and do outreach at community events and schools. And before I get into my talk, I'd like to acknowledge all of the people and organizations for making this project possible. I'd like to acknowledge my committee, Brian Peroy, Jonathan Price, Travis Mendel, and Elliott Parsons, the folks at the SDAV lab, the Hawaii Data Science Institute, NSF, and the Hilo TCBS program. And we're all familiar with invasive species, but they're a unique problem in Hawaii. And to make sense of invasive species in Hawaii, I thought I'd talk about our native species. And because of the island's volcanic origins and geographic isolation, native plants and animals are considered those that arrived here without human assistance, like those that traveled here via the ocean or blown in the wind or transported on birds. These species have lived in isolation for millions of years and have evolved in the absence of more competitive species. And in today's world, it's very easy for humans to move species from one place to another. So when we bring non-native competitive species from other parts of the world, Hawaii's native species are unable to compete because they failed to evolve the defensive mechanisms needed to survive. And as a result, sometimes these new introductions become invasive. And because these species are unique to Hawaii and found nowhere else in the world, protecting our native ecosystems against invasive species is a priority. Using detection tools are a valuable way to support early detection and response, monitoring and managing our invasive species. And so newer remote sensing and machine learning techniques make it possible to survey larger areas that may be hard to reach, from dense forests to mountainous terrain, a bit more quickly and efficiently. And overall, my goal is to test and improve detection tools for invasive species, our invasive strawberry guava in Hawaii. So I'll present this project in two parts. In the first, I'll explore detection methods for strawberry guava trees. And then in the second, I'll explore detection methods to monitor biocontrol progress. So strawberry guava, also known as Vaivi in Hawaii, is found in wet lowland forests. It's native to Brazil and was introduced to Hawaii in 1825 to be cultivated as an ornamental fruit tree. Non-native birds and pigs are known to love the fruit and spread the seeds. And these trees can grow to be 6 meters tall and form these really dense, impenetrable thickets of skinny trunks that crowd out a lot of the native vegetation, like you see on the right-hand side. And from an aerial view, these trees appear to have less foliage than surrounding trees. They look a bit more branchy and patchy, like seen on the left. And Pacific Risk hosted a webinar last year that kind of highlighted this paper. It was a recent study by Potter et al. In 2023, and they surveyed 238 standardized plots across the islands with the Forest Inventory and Analysis Program. And they found strawberry guava to be the most dominant and abundant non-native species by far, with 6 million large trees, and they found 435 million saplings counted across the state. And remote sensing technologies have been used to monitor forests and strawberry guava before in different ways. A recent study outside of Hawaii on the island of Mauritius uses satellite imagery and ground truth observations to train machine learning models to identify strawberry guava canopy in the figure on the left. And this would have been really ideal for Hawaii with the large spatial extent, satellite imagery covers. But strawberry guava in this study is the dominant canopy cover, whereas in Hawaii, there are several other tree species in our canopy. Here's an example of a satellite image for a portion of forest in Hawaiʻi Island. This is, I believe, 3 meters resolution, so per pixel, which is slightly higher than what this paper Mauritius uses. And while it does have a lot of spectral information, it is difficult to differentiate tree species from lower resolutions, and it may improve by using higher resolution images and ground truth data first to identify the species before expanding out into satellite imagery, just to get a better sense of where it is first, because this is still a really valuable tool. And in the SDAV lab, we do a lot of work mapping our forests with small unmanned aerial systems, or SUAS, also like drones, helicopters, and satellites. And because this hasn't been done so much on the island for this species, I decided to try high resolution SUAS and helicopter imagery for this project. And another study in Hawaii investigated the use of imaging spectroscopy and LiDAR for a forest reserve on the island to find strawberry guava invasion, shown in the figure on the right. And imaging spectroscopy is an expensive tool. It refers to hyperspectral imaging, which involves capturing a lot more spectral bands. And LiDAR measures the distance from the unit to the surface of the objects below to create a point cloud, and it represents sort of like a 3D model of the area. And this paper uses LiDAR to calculate above ground carbon as a metric. And I think there's some more potential to pull out other metrics to identify strawberry guava in the forest structure. So I'll also be looking at that in this project. And so in this project, I'm looking to answer these research questions with remote sensing data to improve detection. So the first, how do phenological changes affect detection of strawberry guava in high resolution imagery? Which forest structural metrics extracted from LiDAR data affect detection of strawberry guava? And in which scenarios do high resolution aerial imagery and LiDAR perform best when detecting strawberry guava? So looking at the first question, the study site for this project, is Ola'a Forest Reserve. It's located on the island of Hawaii, in the Moku of Puna and the Ahupua'a of Ola'a. And this site is located on the eastern side of Hawaiʻi Island, on the slopes of Mauna Loa. This forest reserve is a wet submontane forest that receives 3,000 to 6,000 millimeters of rainfall per year, and it ranges from 1,500 to 4,000 feet in elevation. The canopy is dominated by our native ohia trees, which I'll show in the next slide, and invasive strawberry guava trees. And the understory is dense with hapu'u and oluhe ferns, kind of seen in the picture on the left-hand side. And I chose a smaller portion of Ola'a Forest Reserve for this project because of its accessibility to the road, its presence of strawberry guava, and the location of the Forest Service and SDAV Labs biocontrol project that I'll talk about later. And so just to show some examples of our native ohia, they have these bright red lehua flowers, and a typical forest dominated with ohia has a lot of space in the understory for other species. And trees aren't so densely packed together like strawberry guava. And ohias have a lot more foliage in their canopy than strawberry guava and look a bit more round and fluffy in aerial imagery, like some examples on that right-hand side. And so I did a lot of ground truthing to confirm what I was seeing in the data was actually strawberry guava. And so the first few field days involved taking a GPS unit out and picking out random clusters or individual trees to get points of. We usually had a 3-person team, someone macheting our way through some of the oluhe, someone with the GPS unit, and I was recording and taking notes and pictures of what we were seeing. And in my most recent field days, I created these 3 20 by 20 meter plots that ranged from being dominated by our native tree, native ohia trees, and having like a few individual strawberry guavas in there. That's plot A in the figure. And then plot B in the middle has like a really good mix of ohia, strawberry guava clusters, and individuals. And then plot C was completely dominated by strawberry guava. And these were used to further investigate how the model performed and look for any patterns. And so the SUAS imagery was collected in June 2023 with a DJI Mavic 3 drone and its built-in camera. And the SUAS images were less than a centimeter in resolution. And I created a flight plan for the area in this like lawnmower pattern where the lines go back and forth over the area. So the images overlap, and I could create this like stitched together image orthomosaic on the left. And this is an example of an image taken with a SUAS during a period when the leaves are green, like the rest of the canopy. This is the usual phenological stage of the leaves during majority of the year. And the helicopter imagery of this section of forest was taken in May 2024. Images were collected with Nikon D850 DSLR cameras, and they were mounted to a camera rig on the belly of a helicopter. And this is kind of what that looks like. And the images were just less than 2 centimeters resolution. And this is an example of an image taken with the helicopter rig. Something interesting we found in this short window during the springtime was that strawberry guava leaves flush red when new growth is occurring. This is seen on the ground, but not so much investigated from the air. So this was quite the sight when we were flying by the study site, doing some other vegetation mapping. And I thought this could be a helpful feature to improve detecting strawberry guava because it's pretty identifiable once you see it during this flushing period. And so our lab has created a pipeline for our detection model work for other plants that I used for this project based on Deep Forest. And Deep Forest is an open source Python package that has an object detection convolutional neural network model pre-trained on tree crowns from aerial RGB imagery to help specialize models for other tree species. And as a note, just a neural network is a type of architecture for machine learning and processing data to recognize patterns for classification. And so the model takes in all these images and bounding boxes around the tree you're interested in, and these are referred to as like annotations, to help train the model to identify the species and other images you have. So the bounding boxes, you can kind of see on the slide, they're around tree crowns. And so that's what I did for this project. I cropped the images into 1,000 by 1,000 pixels and used this program called Label Image to draw boxes around strawberry guava tree crowns. And I made a little over 5,000 annotations on 747 images for the drone images with green leaves. And I also did the same for cropped helicopter images with red leaves, and made also just over 5,000 annotations on 501 images. And here's the table of results. And I won't get into it too much, but just to note that the model trained on images during this like red phenology stage performed a little bit better than the model trained on images in the green phenology stage. But overall, they did a decent job at detecting strawberry guava. And I'm still working on interpreting these results to finish up my project. But to jump back over to these ground truth plots, and comparing these like ground truth survey points to the model predictions. The pattern shown here is as invasion increases in the plots, so do the number of detections by the model, which is great to see. So these images were not used during training, and they're sort of geo-referenced to the plots. And the top row of images were taken during the green leaf phenology stage, and the bottom row are taken during this red leaf phenology stage. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but the orange points and polygons are showing locations of strawberry guava trees, and the blue points and polygons are showing locations of our native ohia trees, and maybe there's a tropical ash tree that sneaks into one of the plots. And so Plot A was dominated again by our native ohia trees, and we don't see many detections. But the red model there on the bottom does capture the like only strawberry guava cluster of trees in the plot. And then in plot B, this is where we have a mix of species, large stands of trees versus like sprinkled individuals in the plot. And there's a lot more detections. It captures a lot of those clusters on the left-hand side of the plot, but it does miss some of these like lighter orange individuals. In plot C, where the plot is dominated by strawberry guava, the model captures most, if not all, of the guava in the plot. So detecting strawberry guava imagery in the imagery is working. And phenology does slightly improve detection in the numbers, but it's looking like either way, in both sets of imagery, they are detecting in the plots. And so to switch over to this next question, which forest structural metrics extracted from LiDAR data does detection or affect detection of strawberry guava? And a unique feature of strawberry guava is this structure and growth form. These are like super skinny trees that grow together, and they form these really dense thickets, especially on the sides of our roads. Not like very many trees in Hawaii. And this structure is actually visible in our airborne LiDAR data, and could help in detecting the species. And since this type of data has been used for identifying strawberry guava location with canopy height in those above ground carbon measurements in the past study, I also wanted to explore other forest structural metrics derived from the LiDAR. And so a LiDAR scan of the study site was collected during October 2023 with the DJI imagery 600 SUAS, and it carried a Voyager sensor by yellow scan. And this is a cross-section of the resulting point cloud. The ground is classified in brown, and the rest is usually left unclassified in gray. And so this first part of the cross-section shows a really good example of areas that are likely native ohias. There's a lot of space between them. And then versus this large cluster of strawberry guava right next to it. And I felt very confident in identifying these larger clusters, but this is kind of where that ground truthing came in to confirm which species I was looking at. So to process these point clouds, I used the LiDAR package in R. And if you're interested in all the processing details, I'm happy to answer questions about it. But once I process it, I calculated these 4 structural metrics, and I included canopy height, plant area index, which is the area of the plant per area of ground you're looking at. I also used foliage height diversity, or the distribution of plant within the canopy and sun canopy. That kind of looks at the distribution of foliage, but also if there's plants associated with the tree in the understory. And I also looked at point density from 4 to 6 meters in the canopy, which is where most of the trunks of the trees are located. And I hypothesized that high points density was associated with strawberry guava just because there are so many stems in that region. So I used a random forest model and used this package in R to create the model. I converted the metrics into these 1 by 1 meter celled rasters, and I classified these data as strawberry guava trees versus not strawberry guava trees for training, and putting all the results into a table together. Based on the mean average precision and F1 score, which are slightly different ways for averaging the precision and recall, the LiDAR performed the best. And we can look closer at the results. But and this is typically what a classified raster result looks like from a random forest. And since this forest is mixed, we'll need to zoom in to kind of interpret what these pixels mean. But for now, the black areas were predicted as strawberry guava, and the white were predicted as areas of not strawberry guava. And so here's an example of a strawberry guava cluster that the model predicted to be strawberry guava, and it was correct. I'd like to note that the canopy height was the parameter ranked as being the most important to the model, and these trees on average were about 12.5 meters tall. This is a pretty look of what strawberry guava looks like in the LiDAR, these pretty dense stems all together and pretty flat topped as well. And then for my ground truth plots, I tested the random forest classifier on these data and created a probability map. And I'm still working on quantifying these results and tying this all together. But again, we see low probabilities in blue cells in plot A, which is dominated by our native ohia tree, which is a great probability to see. And then in our next plot that has a mix of trees, we see higher probabilities in these red, yellow, orange cells in plot B. And then where we'd expect to see the highest probability in plot C, dominated by strawberry guava, there's kind of this like medium-low probability. And right now, my guess, one of the reasons why I think this may be looking into the plot and other areas that were incorrectly predicted on is this variable point density from 4 to 6 meters. This is the region where I thought that high point density would be due to tree trunks, and that would be an indicator of strawberry guava. But again, these native uluhe ferns that I mentioned earlier, they climb up the trees at different heights, and this may be a confusing factor since the uluhe occurs at different heights and on all trees on some level. And I'm still working on interpreting this, but this is kind of a pattern I'm seeing. But overall, the LiDAR, kind of zooming into that raster, was able to detect the guava pretty well. And finally, comparing the two methods, we'll look at this third question where they perform best. And overall, even with the different data types highlighting different features of strawberry guava, spectrally and structurally, both methods identify strawberry guava, especially these clusters of trees. If there's like a straggler individual, the model doesn't quite capture that very well. But the different data types together could help improve detection. And so scenarios where patches of ground or uluhe were incorrectly predicted by the imagery model, these are areas where the LiDAR model can detect strawberry guava correctly because canopy height is a metric considered in the model. And scenarios where maybe the imagery model predicted an ohia or a dead tree to be strawberry guava, because it is a bit more branchy, this is where LiDAR could maybe help that situation because foliage height diversity and that leaf area index is considered. But when the LiDAR incorrectly identifies a tree that isn't strawberry guava, the aerial imagery can capture those differences in the spectral information, especially when the tree is flushing red. So yeah, and so now I'm gonna switch gears and talk about some cool biocontrol work happening in Hawaii to limit the spread of this species. And the biocontrol for strawberry guava is called the Brazilian scale, or Tectococcus ovitus, and has been used as the biological control in forests on the Big Island since 2011 to reduce the spread of this tree. The Brazilian scale is a very small insect that forms galls on the leaves, or these swollen pinkish growths that feed on the leaf. Galling can range from like 1 to 2 galls on a leaf to completely covered. Baby Brazilian scales emerge from these galls and like to target fresh leaf growth at the top of the canopy during the springtime. The biocontrol doesn't kill the tree, but it does reduce seed production and slow the growth of the tree. And Dr. Tracy Johnson and the U.S. Forest Service have done a lot of great work to study this biocontrol and conducting releases of it. And our lab has been able to support monitoring by taking photos of the canopy every few months to see how it's doing. Here's an example of how the lab uses SUAS to release the biocontrol into the strawberry guava canopy. We have a SUAS and attach these 4 canisters to the legs. Inoculated leaves were tied to string, kind of like in the previous photo, to help it cling onto the branches. And we use biodegradable blue field tape for visibility. And when the SUAS flies over the canopy, the pilot releases the leaves and string from the canisters, and it lands in the tree. And here's a video from the drone's point of view. So yeah, I can play that again too. So it's over the tree, and once it finds a good spot, it falls, and most of the time it made it in, but there are a few misses, and we're able to try again. And so in the lab, I've done a lot of scanning through these photos, zooming in to find gulls and trees. And so when I was coming up with this project, I had read quite a few papers on machine learning models detecting different late phases of plant disease, like in these tomato leaves on the left, and insect pest detection to assist monitoring pesticide treatments here on the right. And to my knowledge, I hadn't seen any machine learning work like this done for the Brazilian scale. Other papers had mapped the visual impacts of biocontrol with aerial imagery, like reduced flowering and wilted leaves. but not quite the galling. And so with all this imagery you have from monitoring biocontrol in these trees, I decided to test out training an object detection model similar to the last section to identify galls on strawberry guava leaves. And the goal of this project was to contribute to the biocontrol monitoring efforts and make the process of going through a lot of imagery a bit quicker, and just to see how well a machine learning model can identify the Brazilian scale, since it's such a unique feature on these leaves. And so this is the same site used in the previous section, but at this site we've gone back to the trees 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months after deployment to take photos of them and to monitor the biocontrol progress. And these images I used in my model, and I also took photos down the road where the biocontrol has been established for several years. And these trees are located in that inset map in the upper left-hand corner. And so I wanted to show a few examples of the imagery I used to train my model. And so zooming into this first area, this is a photo taken 6 months after deploying the biocontrol. And if we zoom into the galling, we see very minimal galling on the leaves, about 1 to 2 per leaf. And then this is a different tree taken at the same site 1 year later after deployment. And if we zoom into some galling, there's quite a few more galls per leaf, a bit more spread than a few months before. And if we look down at an image from down the road, this is an example of a tree where the Brazilian scale has been established for several years. And if we zoom into the galling, we see that these leaves are covered in galls. So it is kind of a slower progression, but over time, these galls do spread throughout the tree. And not only do the images range in number of galls present, but the images were also taken at different heights above the tree. This is an image that shows the tree a bit far away from the camera, and sometimes the galls look like this. And then this image is of a tree that is much closer to the camera, causing the galls to look a bit more clear. And so there's a wide range of variability in our images, and that was some examples of what the galling looks like. And so same as before, I used label image to annotate cropped photos to draw bounding boxes around the leaves with galls. I wanted to provide the model with some context for the galling, so I went at the leaf level. And yeah, I made just under 5,000 annotations on about 1,000 images. So as a result, the Brazilian scale was detected in every tree that had galls by the model, which is great. But because I annotated at the leaf level, some of these leaves are missed. And in most of my models, I received a recall of 78%, which means that what I annotated as a leaf with galls in orange, the model also recognized as leaves with galls too in blue. With recall, we want to see a lot of overlap in the orange and blue boxes because it means that the model is learning what I'm telling it to learn. And then I did consistently receive a lower precision value of 31%, and this means that the blue model predicted boxes did not overlap with my orange boxes, are a bunch of false positives. After looking through several images, I found that factors that led to the most false positives were images taken after a rain, where the raindrops are left on the leaves seen in the left image, and when flowers are beginning to bud because the buds look a lot like galls next to the leaves here in the right image. And other factors I found that led to false positives were poor quality of images and discoloration of the leaves. So I'm working on pulling out these images and to kind of mitigate these factors and create a better model. And so as a disclaimer, not all the trees developed galls, but over half the trees did develop galls that were part of this project. And of those trees, with gold leaves. Biocontrol being detected in every tree is an exciting result. So to dial this in more, training the model at different sites with different levels of spread and resolutions could make a more robust model. And so to close, Strawberry Guava has invaded Hawaii's lowland tropical forests and has negatively altered native forest structure. While eradication is impossible, land managers still want to reduce the spread of this invasive species into older, higher elevation forests. And so this biocontrol now offers the opportunity to limit seed production and accomplish this goal. And so this project explores remote sensing tools that have the potential to cover large scales of forests to help make informed decisions about where strawberry guava is present to target biocontrol deployment. These methods can identify places with strawberry guava that we didn't know we had and better observe potential shifts in the future if applied at a larger scale. And because some of the biocontrol deployment projects have begun, monitoring has played a key role in determining its success over the year. And this project has shown that using machine learning methods can make this process a bit more efficient. Thank you so much for having us today. And yeah, that's it.
Thank you so much, Olivia. That was fantastic. You're getting some great reactions here from the audience as well. Just a reminder, if there are any additional questions for Elliott or Olivia, if you'd like to add those in the Q&A box. We do have one question here that we can start with. And maybe both of you can give some input on this, but we had a question about whether college campuses, if there are things they can do to help prevent the spread of invasive species.
You want to take that one, Olivia?
Sure. I guess thinking in the context of our university and within my grad program, since the start of when I joined, our cohort was really interested in just different opportunities in learning about place on the islands and getting involved in field work. Since like half of our cohort is from the mainland and the rest are kind of from the different islands. It's a great opportunity to learn and put people to work, and a lot of those field days involved kind of removing invasive species. So I think like just getting out as an opportunity is a way, but also kind of if you are interested, like having a project studying invasive species more definitely helps.
I can add maybe one more thing to that too, that there are tools that I think have been mentioned throughout this week where students can report species that they find. iNaturalist is one platform, but I just wanted to say I completely agree with what Olivia said about what an incredible learning opportunity to learn how to identify plants, to learn about impacts, to share what you've observed with fellow students and staff and faculty. So yeah, we can all play our part, including campuses and everybody on them.
Absolutely. And Olivia, I had a question for you. I was really interested in hearing more about the machine learning project and just all these amazing tools you're using to think about how we can monitor for different invasive species and biocontrol efforts. Obviously, doing all of that work on the ground would require a lot of resources and people, but I could see it also takes a really long time to train your models and things like that. So what do you think? I mean, I think in terms of doing these models, it takes a lot of time, but ultimately it seems like it would be worth it because you could apply that on a much larger scale. But what are your thoughts on the next steps for these kinds of models?
Totally. Yeah, it is. It does take some effort to kind of get the ball rolling and train a model and just have a lot of image examples of what these species look like. And I think having imagery in different sites helps as well. just getting to know what it looks like in different places. But once you kind of have that established, it has really helped with some of our other projects looking at rapid ohia death or Myconia was an invasive species mentioned. Just kind of narrow down our search area because we're able to kind of identify the species and then kind of narrow down the search for ground crews if they wanted to go investigate it further. So yeah, there is effort in the beginning, but for the long term to kind of hope we can just fly over an area, run the model, it picks out what we're looking for, and we can go on the ground. So yeah.
No, that's great. It looks like we have another question about whether you can use those models to inform the management of vertebrates such as axis deer.
I've seen work. We recently had like a drone hui or just across the state of Hawaii, people who use drones in their work. There was someone who was using like thermal cameras and imagery to look for vertebrates like deer and sheep and goats. And yeah, I don't remember if it was imagery or if it was just videos and kind of an exploration thing, but I think that is something that people are starting to look into and are interested into with not only plants but also animals as well, which is kind of cool. So I'm still learning about that too, but yeah, I think it's starting to be looked into.
Oh, that's great. And then Elliot, I have a silly question for you, but are you really concerned about opossums taking over? It sounded kind of scary. You had a lot of fun reactions though, sharing those stories, but is that something you really need to be concerned about in Hawaii? Are there hidden opossums about the place?
It's not just opossums, but there are also potential carriers for rabies, which could introduce really bad diseases to the state and to the Pacific region. So I in part used it as an example in jest, but it did provide an opportunity to create my first meme, so that was pretty fun. But yeah, no, things show up all the time. There's a great group of folks. Early Detection Rapid Response Working Group who communicate regularly on inspections and what's being found and what's being discovered. But there's always things showing up. And we just have to be really careful about things getting here that could have larger impacts on the economy, on human health, on the environment. So it's constant vigilance. So opossums are one example of something that's showing up, but there's also been snakes found, tarantulas, bearded dragons I saw as well when I was looking into it. So yes, constant vigilance.
Oh, that's great. I think that's a really good summary, of what we need to do moving forward here. So I would like to thank you both very much for presenting today, and we really, really appreciate it. And then I will close out with our last few slides here. And so here at NISAW, we like to end our information sharing sessions with a call to action. And today we'd like to ask you to send a letter to your federal representatives in the House and Senate asking to reintroduce the Stop the Spread of Invasive Mussels Act. The bill would extend authority to inspectors for data sharing and partnerships to implement best practices with watercraft inspections to prevent the introduction and spread of invasive mussels. And you can either scan the QR code or follow the link in the chat. Input your information and the system will automatically select your senator or representative and send them a letter that we have prepared. And lastly, I would like to thank all of you for joining us today. We do have a great lineup of webinars still scheduled for this week, so we do hope that you can join us for those. And again, thank you to our speakers, and everyone have a great rest of your day.